Hey, it's Kane, Minkus, and Jeff Slater here. How's it going? Good to see you, Jeff.
Hello, Kane. Some last week's had a lot of things happening in the world of AI. Let's get into it.
Yeah, welcome to the Infinite Mindset Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss how innovation, technology, and AI is changing the future of our lives professionally and personally, and what you need to do about it to make sure that you are capitalizing on the future, keeping yourself sustainable, and keeping your family fed, and all the other important things that go on with making sure you have a abundant future and not a opposite one. We'll just leave it at that. So in this particular podcast, we want to talk about some of the newest news on how companies are pivoting a little bit of their focus on AI, which is great. We love this narrative. Of course, it's obviously one that we continually talk about ourselves, which is that it's showing now that big companies are betting on AI plus people, so not just AI. And there's been some great case studies that have been going on about companies that have basically said, we're firing everybody and we're putting in AI. And that's, we're even showing some great statistics about, the first 30 or 60 days use of them and how much it's going to save them, and only to essentially, rewind or recoil all of that and basically bring back all their people, rehire people, or basically, no longer rely just on AI.
I want to highlight that, actually. I think that it's important to recognize, because there's all these scare news, and companies are firing lots of people, and that actually in the long run wasn't working, because they just, hey, we'll just replace them with AI. But actually, having you and I toured all over Australia, spent a lot of time in Australia, there's some articles that came out like Qantas, NAB Bank, Medibank, Wesfarmers. Qantas is equivalent to like United, NAB banks like Citibank, over there in Australia, as far as capacity wise, not quite as big as Citibank, but a big bank. And they're announcing that they're actually working on not cutting people, but actually upskilling workers.
Yeah.
It was in the Australian.
And, not only that, but here's the three main things. So if you're a leader out there, if you're a consultant, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're somebody that's just, you love tech and you come to these podcasts and listen because you'd like to be hearing the newest, coolest stuff and what's going on and how to be looking at it, since what Jeff and I and our companies do all day long is train people in the marketplace, work with private clients, and get a chance to be in the trenches working with those that are working on this stuff. Here's what we're finding. First of all, AI's return on investment is actually being capped by human capability. So if the humans are not able...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the ability for AI to expand, everybody thinks, AI is so much smarter, faster, and better than humans, which technically it is. But the ability to actually implement it into a humanish world, because that's what we're in right now, the ability for AI to actually make an impact and work, it has to work inside of human-based systems for now. We will be, of course, redesigning all of our systems over the next 10, 15, 50, 100 years, but that's going to take some time. And so right now, companies that are adopting it are realizing that the return on that investment of AI is being capped by the capability of the humans in the company. And by capability, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say that, so it seems like AI is an amplifier. So it actually it doesn't replace thinking. It actually rewards better thinking for some of these team members. So that's why they're combining AI and human.
So yeah, there's all sorts of elements to it. First of all, the systems were designed by humans anyways. So to try to replace them with AI systems is actually, let's say, ambitious, but tough to actually make it work. And so, of course, although everybody got excited and companies started to go, oh my gosh, there's a great way we can get more profitable and, cut people. Oh, that's not a very human first approach. That's what was happening. They've rolled it all back. They realized that that's not actually the way to do it. It's much more about the collaboration. But the idea here is that the capability of one's team is actually causing the ability for these AI tools, technologies, agents, and workflows to actually add value to the company. It has to be a collaborative process.
I would actually say that the AI is now they're focused on leveraging the team. So one person can do the work when trained of 20 people. So they're getting more proficiency.
Right. So in light of that, the second area that we're seeing a lot, and that's coming back with all the conversations we have in stats and all of our students in our certification programs that are out there working with leaders and executives, is that there's three major areas that they're investing in for the ability to increase the ROI of AI, and it's not the technology itself. The technology is great. It's constantly leapfrogging. There's new LMs coming out every single minute. There's new features. This week, Google's on top. This week, OpenAI is on top. That week, Perplexity is on top. First of all, they're way past the point of extreme value anyways. So what they've now realized is it's not about the tech. Hey, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you're like, wait a second, this is cool, but it's not really consistent, or it's not really doing the job of a super experienced leader. Now it is. It goes far past it. So then the question is, why is it capped? And so what they realize now is they have to be actually focusing on training their staff to be able to have better judgment, help the systems understand the context of the thinking, which is, as we talk about in context engineering in our programs, is like you have to understand how to actually communicate with the systems to give it the context and the decisions and the decision-making management. So now it's become judgment, context, and decision quality is the three major things that people are investing in with their teams.
So I would say that they're really training the people to use AI as leverage, not actually to replace them. So the intent before was, let's replace you. Here's how to train about it. Now it's, let's teach you how to leverage it. So the winners, it seems like the winners in the organizations out there are actually training humans first to use AI as a leverage tool. And that's less threatening to adopt as well.
There's a third thing that's emerging that's becoming very, very important. It's great for everybody listening to know about this, which is essentially companies, although we've been saying this for years, but it just takes time to get into the marketplace. Companies are starting to realize that they can't just use general AI to be doing things. I mean, you could use general AI to, I guess, have fun. You can use general AI to, have conversations.
For a Thai restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You can have a conversation. I mean, we were trying to reprogram a lock on our office door and we couldn't figure it out, and we were using ChatGPT to help us through it. Awesome. It's great. But when it comes to companies, you need actual institutional data and knowledge. And so what's happening is that replacing people or eliminating people is destroying the institutional knowledge. And they're doing it faster.
Just to highlight that, you're saying actually someone with domain expertise is using AI to leverage it in that domain. Can you give an example?
Not just domains, but yes, expert domains is valuable. That's certainly a thing, but knowledge about the company and how the company works and the company systems and the company data. And so what companies are realizing now is that their company data is more important than ever. Now, this has been we've been running this flagpole around the world now for years, and I'm not saying this to pat our backs. I'm just saying that it's very important that everybody starts to take a note of this, because in fact, as we're starting to see even with OpenAI, they're switching from this speed to preparedness. Like now although there was a lot of speed to get a whole bunch of stuff out, and so a lot of excitement and also a lot of overwhelm because there was so much coming out. I think there's, I was saying to my son, there's something like around 60,000 tools. And he's like, no, there's not. There's like over 1 million tools out there right now. And I was like, why is there such a discrepancy in our numbers? So we started doing some research, and it seems like some of the sites that we look at, which are more vetted tools based upon, quality of data, entrepreneurship, funding, things like that, we were seeing more numbers like, tens of thousands in the 60,000 or so. He's actually, if you look at the global landscape, there's millions of tools that are out there.
It's like the altcoin market.
Exactly.
So operationally, if you're a CEO of a company, let's say you're a $100 million plus company, what's a proper rollout that's moving towards this new paradigm?
Yeah, well, one of the lessons is you better start investing in your people. So this is where you might have gotten excited a year back going, great, we're going to get prepared to replace everybody and get rid of everybody. And that's, of course, what the media, look, it's an obvious fear tactic. I mean, if you think you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your sustenance, you're going to lose it's a survival-based attack, right? So media has loved just playing that against humans because it gets their attention. If I tell you that everybody's going to lose their jobs and everybody's going to have to live on basic income, like you're reading the paper, you want to know what they're talking about, what's going on. So it gets good headlines. But the reality is that, of course, companies are realizing it's not. And media just changes with the wind. So be very careful for those of you listening to take too much.
Let me throw this out there to you. So let's say the company invests in, let's say they have 50 people, okay? And they get everyone really skilled up. They invest in humans first, and now these people the 50 people have the capacity to do the work of 250. Does this actually mean, I mean, I could see it could mean less jobs because now that's 200 less people that do the work of 50 people do the work of 250 people. So does that mean less jobs, or does it just mean better talent, better training?
Well, I mean, look, in theory, when you talk about that, and this is what has been thrown around in the media and in the general community, sure.
Yeah.
And those numbers, yes, if you can get, if AI technically can do the job of 50 people and you get rid of them, you save all that money, of course. But that's not really what's happening. And it's not that it's not able to do the job. It's that it can't actually do the job nearly as well as those 50 people that have context, judgment, decision-making, and institutional knowledge. So it's not there yet for those systems to be able to do that. I'll give you a couple of fun and really important stats. So right now, McKinsey has just put out, so did MIT, they combined on this consensus findings, and essentially they found 70 to 80% of AI value is not coming from the models or the tech itself. It's coming from the workflow redesign and human adaptation.
What,
In other words,
what does that mean?
so it's coming from companies redesigning their work so that they are doing a collaborative human and AI collaboration. Accelerating humans is now obviously it's the real success story, which is great. It's what Steve Jobs used to say about the computer being the bicycle for the mind. He never said the computer replaces the mind. He said the computer is like a bicycle for the mind. It's going to take you further faster.
That's a real simple point there. So Steve Jobs is about enhancing what the human could do, right? And when AI came out, the fear tactic was it's going to replace humans, and now it's back to a very, very advanced Apple computer.
Well, and we saw. I mean, look, part of the reason we were. I mean, 3 years ago, we gave lectures all over the world, and then 2 years ago, we were, faculty for business mastery for Tony Robbins, and we were saying this on those stages. The last 200 years, every major technological invention has been essentially followed by a massive fear campaign by the media.
Well, even
electricity, cars, washing machines,
in the walls, they called it.
Yeah, manufacturing, everything you could say. And so if we just take the dishwasher, for example, people were scared of their dishwashers when they first came out because the media told them it was, going to take over everything and change everything, and everybody's going to get fat and lazy and horrible and whatever they told the public. But of course it didn't. What happens now? Now you can just get more done. Now you can do more dishes, or you can have somebody helping you with the dishes, or you can, you don't not do your dishes. You still have the system help you with your dishes. And so anyways, what we're finding is this. There's another great stat, which is that companies investing in AI training are outperforming their competitors by between 20 and 30% on productivity metrics.
When you say investing in AI training, it's not just tools. Can you talk more about that, what you're seeing?
Sure. Well, some part of it is actually usage and actually, using technology and tools.
Application of things that they value is what I
Sure.
see.
Yeah. There's some element of actually using the technology and the tool itself. But another part of it is actually the paradigm of actually trusting it, aligning with, understanding how to work with your teammates, who's handling what, who's going to do it, where the data and the knowledge is coming from, how deep the systems go into your workflow. At what point can you supervise? What point does the human have to be in the loop? What point should the humans be out of the loop? All of that kind of stuff, as it's all part of the training. It's not just, here is the prompts. People have been overly, let's say, attached to prompt engineering. Prompting is great. Prompt engineering is awesome. It's a great quality skill. But it's not the end game, especially when you have a team or a group of people. Individually, sure, you can get a lot more done by just training on a tool. But when you start to get into 2, 5, 10, 50, 100, 1,000, 10,000 people at an organization, a lot more has to go into actually getting the teams to work together, because this is about redesigning work. It's not about just teaching them a bunch of new tools.
That makes sense. Yeah, I got it.
All right. So right now, less than 10% of enterprise AI budgets are going to layoffs or workforce reduction. So the majority is actually going into training, process redesign. This is the big one, is redesigning the processes. And this kind of internal enablement is really what's really where, if you want to put attention as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, look at how do we redesign work? The real question should not be how do we replace people with AI? The question is, how do we redesign our work processes now that we have a more powerful tool? And this is what the Industrial Revolution went through. It wasn't how do we just get rid of everybody. It was, okay, if we've got something that can do a lot of the things that humans are doing, where do we redistribute humans and how do we change the workflow? That's the big conversation.
Well, look, it looks like if I was if I was like going to deploy this in a team, my attention would be on actually how to not replace them, but to actually have the humans be able to better direct the AI. So it's basically the future belongs to the humans who know how to direct the machines or the language models. And I know that it's going to go past language models, but yeah.
Well, this is exactly the point. So what AI literacy actually means in companies, and that's past tools, not just tools, they're helping their employees and have a better level of executive level functioning. Things like, how do you bring in resources? How do you outsource stuff? How do you orchestrate resources? How do you actually, use these tools and technologies in their workflows? But how do you actually oversee, make better decisions, ask better questions of things? How do you actually validate the outputs, make sure that it's high quality? And how do you integrate this into your daily decision-making loops? These are the kind of things that they're training. So what I actually think is really going on, based upon what we're seeing, is we're actually moving everybody up the executive decision-making ladder. Entrepreneurs saw these things and, one of the reasons the solopreneur market exploded with AI tools is because we understood it immediately. I say we, mean, our company here has 100 staff and 12 divisions, so it's not like I'm a solopreneur. My team would kill me. But we work with so many solopreneurs, and that's kind of the heart of what, we started in was I was a solopreneur. I started my first business by myself, or with a business partner. It was like we were the lone wolves. But the reason that is so easy is because essentially these were the things you always had to do. And so now the mass market of leaders are actually being trained at executive leadership decision-making. Well, let's go a click past that. What do you think is going to happen, Jeff? When everybody is going, well, wait a second, we need to retrain our team to be more executive level decision makers, managers. We need to help them understand how to orchestrate power systems and resources and all that. What do you think they're going to do next? When they understand they've got tools and they can make decisions and they can actually manage and oversee power tools, what do you think would be a natural? I don't mean to throw you under the bus here.
Actually, what I'm present to is that a lot of people are going to want to leave if they're not treated right.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah, they're going to want to leave, but then the companies will have to adapt and be able to make it a place that they really want to work and keep them inspired and keep them paid well and have them really add value. Otherwise, they're just going to leave because the people will be empowered with the right tools.
Right. So now what could possibly stop somebody from just learning the executive level decision-making leadership, having all the tools at their capability? What would possibly stop them from just going and launching their own companies? Well, I think it's going to come back to data. And so companies and people that are starting to really collect and manage their data now is going to be, that's the preparedness you want to be preparing for the next 5 or 10 years.
So let's expand on that. Do you mean that, so for example, they're using, let's say they're using ChatGPT, but they're building proprietary systems where the data stays internal? What does that mean?
Well, it means that, data is going to become an important facet. Some of it is proprietary to a company because it comes down to their IP or their processes or what they have figured out to do right or how the way they're, positioned in the marketplace or whatever. And so some of that is tough to reproduce. But if you look at what data really needs to be used to make better decisions, and you start thinking about how you can start generating, creating, or testing or getting access to data, right now, I still think data is still pretty cheap. You're able to get data. People understand how important it is. It is starting to get more and more walled. And, some industries are very walled off, but a lot of them haven't been as much. Right now, there's kind of a awakening to data. Well, you fast forward that 5 or 10 years and everybody's going to be uber protective of their data, their IP, their systems, and their processes because it's all going into their proprietary agents.
So data will basically become more like a commodity. But how the data is organized, the workflows of the data will become the intellectual property itself.
Well, it's going to become the gas to your systems.
Right.
If you don't have good data, you won't be able to drive powerful enough systems to compete with those that did. Now, that does bring it back a little bit to the enterprises because they have a lot more data and a lot more data centers. But entrepreneurs, smaller businesses, consultants, everyone else can still be just putting a lot more of their attention on data, getting it, understanding it, training it in every area of their business. So instead of just doing something, instead of just having your accountant give you your reports, actually understand all of your financial situations and statements and numbers and information, and then start to use that in your own systems to start to create better financial decisions, forecast better cash flows. Don't just talk to your accountant about it. Get all your data and your reports and everything out of your accounting systems and start to train financial decision-making bots with it. They got to do this all on APIs. So it's all private information, but you want to be using your own information to start making better decisions.
So what do you think is the biggest mistake people are making right now when they're adopting AI?
Well, I think when it comes to all of this stuff, I think one thing is that they're overly focused on the outcome of it and not on the system of it. So in other words, they're very, very, as my daughter says, bedazzled with the whole here's what it can get done, here's what it can save you. The smarter companies are actually moving a little bit more methodically. They're building foundations, they're building data pools, they're training their teams, they're understanding how to redesign their workflows, and they're creating a whole new beast to emerge. It's a little bit like a caterpillar phase here, where they're going into the cocoons and they're going to come out of the cocoon as a beautiful butterfly. But those that don't go into their cocoon and figure it out are going to be a bunch of caterpillars while the rest of the butterflies are flying around.
And that metamorphosis phase seems to be where we're at right now because it doesn't seem to have a clear answer totally yet. It's transforming, and we don't know what it's going to look like, but it's coming. It's already here. It's just a matter of what it transformed into is a big question. That was great. Thanks, Kane.
You got it. All right, let's wrap it up here for this podcast. I hope that gives you some good things to think about. In the meantime, we'll see you in the next episode of The Infinite Mindset. Take care, everybody. See you soon.